Uh-oh.
In her last two fights. Good way hitting him from that way down.
Welcome to the motherfucking relay. We're covering today's top boxing news.
Okay, we'll start with this. Unbeaten Chloe Watson of the United Kingdom took to her social media and said in so many words, "Let's dance, baby! Let's dance," to unbeaten Maisy Rose.
What's going on here?
Chloe Watson and Maisy Rose have so been ordered to fight by the EBU for what is Chloe Watson's EBU title.
EBU title in the flyweight division.
Chloe Watson is the reigning EBU champion. Maisy Rose is her mandatory challenger. Maisy Rose responded with two emojis. Shit house. Though it's not officially made yet, they are supposed to fight. This would be a battle of the unbeatens, the battle of the unbeaten flyweights, the battle of the unbeaten Brits. Chloe Watson sports a professional record of 7 wins with no losses, no draws, no recorded knockouts, not yet, but she's very good. I've seen her. She's been fighting under the Wasserman banner, Wasserman Promotions, Kale and Nisei Sauerland, whereas Maisy Rose, she's been fighting over there at Matchroom.
Matchroom.
Sporting a professional record of 6 wins with no losses, no draws, no recorded knockouts. You may have seen Maisy Rose on the preliminary portions of Matchroom shows, the prelim cards. You may have seen her also palling around with her good buddy, Sky Nicholson. They get along famously.
Good friends.
I've seen Maisy in action once or twice. I like what I see. She's aggressive.
Fast.
She's an action fighter. She saw action about 4 times last year. 4 times. She was active. She was busy. And she's already seen action at least once this year, back in April. Chloe Watson, she was busy too. She fought 3 times last year. 3 times. This fight with Maisy Rose would be her first fight of this one. Her first fight of this year. They're both young fighters. They're both unbeaten fighters. Very good mid-range to inside. Aggressive.
Ricky Hatton trains Chloe Watson.
And Kevin Mitchell trains Maisy. What I like about the Brits, what I like about the British boxing scene a bit more than the American one, is that it's not uncommon for highly touted, unbeaten fighters to face each other before advancing to the next level. Think Fury versus Chisora when they were both unbeaten, or Joshua versus White
When they were both unbeaten.
Cash versus Bentley in more recent years, Wortley versus Adelaide, Wortley versus Clark. It's a risk, matching 2 unbeaten up-and-comers against each other. It's a risk to the both of them, but I feel that the Brits look at it as a necessary risk, that if you're going to make it at world level, you need to make it at domestic level first. I think that mentality,
We see it more in the UK than the US these days.
we see it here between Chloe Watson and Maisy Rose. Now, both Chloe and Maisy are mid-range to inside fighters. Very quick.
Fast hands and fast feet. What I think separates them.
Maisy manages the distance a little better than Chloe does, picks her punches a little better than Chloe does.
It's the little things.
What you're throwing and where. The head punches, the body punches, and how you mix them up in order to land scoring blows. I think that Maisy is actually a little better at that than Chloe Watson.
The variety of punches as well as managing the distance enough to where you're not smothering your own work.
When you're trying to get inside, not getting so far on the inside that you're smothering your own punches. You're not giving yourself enough room to really land anything, land cleanly.
Drive your punches.
That pertains to the fighter's footwork and their foot positioning, where they are relative to their opponent once the bell sounds. I think Maisy's footwork is a bit better than Chloe Watson's, and that's what may separate them on the night. That Maisy maintains that bit of space between herself and her opponent to land clean punches that you don't have to look for.
You can see them.
judges can see them, that Maisy Rose comparatively puts together the cleaner work, the cleaner combinations, which may catch the eyes of the judges.
And I attribute that to not just her hand speed, but her foot positioning.
She's also a little bit more loose-to-goose with her movement. You know, it's not uncommon to see Maisy changing levels, slipping, bobbing, rolling, and weaving under and or around punches, whereas Chloe, she's a little bit more fixed and a little bit more tense.
Behind a high guard.
So that's going to make a difference. I think that's going to make a difference because they both like to come forward and they both like to throw punches mid-range to inside. It may boil down to who's giving themselves enough room to work.
I think that's Maisy.
I think she does a better job at doing that, giving herself that half step back, that bit of space to get the punches off and get the punches out.
She's a little lighter on her feet, too. More bouncy than Chloe Watson.
Yeah, she's lighter on her feet, she moves a bit more, and that affords her the chance to attack from different angles.
I'm leaning towards Maisy Rose.
If and when the fight happens for what is Chloe Watson's EBU title, I think Maisy Rose is a bit more streamlined, a bit more nuanced.
She has some of the same finer qualities that Chloe Watson has, and some finer qualities that Chloe doesn't.
And Chloe's good, make no mistake. I like Chloe Watson's boxing, but here and now, I think Maisy Rose is a bit more further developed than Chloe is. So if and when they fight, I like Maisy. I like Maisy to win. Maisy Rose on points. And super middleweight news, Bob Arum wants to match Christian Mbilli with either Canelo Alvarez or David Benavidez. I think he's going to have some trouble with that endeavor. Top Rank signed Mbilli to a co-promotional pact with Eye of the Tiger Management back in March, and they want to fast-track the 29-year-old.
If he gets through the fight on the 25th, we'll sit down with co-promoter Camille Estefan and try to go after the biggest fight out there with Canelo or David Benavidez. Those are tremendous fights. Mbilli is fearless in the ring. I don't know how Canelo will feel about that. At this particular time, he can pick his shots. Mbilli and Benavidez would be a terrific fight. Camille feels the same way I do. No more messing around. Let's go after the brass golden ring, and that's what we're gonna do.
You know, I wouldn't actually mind Canelo Alvarez versus Christian Mbilli. I wouldn't. It doesn't have the profile of a Canelo versus Benavidez fight, but I wouldn't mind Canelo versus Mbilli. The thing is, I don't think Mbilli's on Canelo's radar. I've never heard Canelo address the possibility of facing Christian Mbilli. And David Benavidez, he's moving up to light heavyweight in his next fight. Now, Jose, David's father, he welcomes a fight with Mbilli. He said, Mbilli, that guy is a fucking monster. He's an animal too, Benavidez Sr. told Boxing Scene earlier this year. He looked great in his last fight against Rohan Murdoch in January. That's another guy we'd like to fight. That's a dangerous fighter right there. I consider him more dangerous than David Morrell. He has more experience and has climbed up the ladder on his own. He has proven himself.
Should we expect this fight to happen?
What, Benavidez versus Mbilli? No, that's not going to happen. It's not going to happen no time soon, if it ever happens. David's moving up to light heavyweight in his next fight, facing former champion Alexander Vajdik, and Christian Mbilli is set to face the United Kingdom's own Mark Heffron.
That's this Saturday.
After that, what I'm hearing is they plan on putting Christian Mbilli in there with Sergey Derevyanchenko, seasoned journeyman who's been in there with anyone from Daniel Jacobs to Gennady Golovkin to Jermall Charlo, Jaime Munguia,
Carlos Adames.
So in other words, we shouldn't expect to see Mbilli versus Benavidez. We shouldn't expect to see Mbilli versus Canelo Alvarez. That's just the truth. That's just reality. Irrespective of what Bob Arum and Camille Estefan might want to do for Mbilli, it takes two to tango. It takes two teams to make a fight, but only one to fuck it up.
All right.
Now, as it pertains to the upcoming Mark Heffron fight, I expect that Mbilli's going to stop this guy. I expect that Christian Mbilli is going to knock him out. The United Kingdom's own Mark Heffron has a professional record of 30 wins with 3 losses and 1 draw, and all 3 losses were knockout losses. All 3 times he got stopped.
He was stopped by Liam Williams. He was stopped by Jack Cullen.
And he retired in his corner with Denzel Bentley. So when I think about what Christian Mbilli might do to him at super middleweight, he's going to stop him. He's going to knock him out. And it may be a highlight reel knockout.
That's good. Why is that good? It's good because in the absence of big names and big name fights, The best thing you can do is stay active, stay busy, and they're keeping Christian Mbilli busy. Before he's even laid a glove on Mark Heffron, they're already charting a course for his next fight. His next fight, which could be against Sergey Derevyanchenko.
Christian fought 2 times last year, 2 times. The war with Carlos Gongora, which was a Fight of the Year candidate, and the highlight reel knockout over Demond Nicholson. He's already fought once this year.
So he fought 2 times last year. He's already fought once this year. This upcoming fight on Saturday makes 2.
Fighting Sergey would make 3. The story is he's already struck the deal to face Sergey Derevyanchenko late summer in August in Quebec, provided he comes out clean this weekend against Mark Heffron, and I think he's going to.
So then what's all this stuff about David? What's all this stuff about Canelo?
Well, I think Bob Arum and Camila Stefan would like to make those fights for Christian Mbilli, but they're not putting all their eggs in one basket.
If they can't get them and he can't fight them, he'll fight somebody else. He has to fight.
It's the bottom line. That's the way it's done. That's how Gennady Golovkin rose to popularity down there at middleweight years ago, just by keeping active, keeping busy, and fighting whoever's in front of him on a consistent enough basis that people started to notice the guy's a bit of a wrecking machine. That's what Christian Mbilli has to do at super middle.
Simple as.
Christian Mbilli is best described as a very fast, very strong, and very athletic pressure fighter, volume puncher. He has the defensive deficiencies you come to expect from a pressure fighter, but he is formidable. It takes certain ingredients to beat a guy like this, and not everybody has them.
He's got to build himself up.
If he beats Mark Heffron this weekend, and I think he's going to, moves on from that to August, beats Sergey Derevyanchenko, I would like to see Christian Mbilli versus Caleb Plant.
A former champion.
And a familiar face, a familiar name, who has been in there with Canelo Alvarez, who has been in there with David Benavidez, Jose Usyk, Anthony Durrell.
Seasoned.
So that by the time you make a Mbilli versus Plant fight, Caleb will have gotten himself back in the winner's bracket, and then fighting him will be worth something. That if Christian Mbilli can stop Caleb, where David Benavidez could not, that's a statement. That's sending a message. So even if Christian can't get the big fights with the big names right now, in time,
Give him time.
he's gonna knock Mark Heffron out this weekend.
See what happens afterwards.
Men's heavyweight news. Lance Pugmire writes, invoking the rematch clause is a strong legacy play by Fury, Tyson Fury. And when the fuck has Tyson Fury ever cared about legacy? Isn't he the one who said he doesn't care about belts?
Didn't he say he didn't care about Undisputed?
With Tyson Fury's promoter Frank Warren reporting Tuesday that the 2-time heavyweight champion will exercise his rematch clause for a bout likely to occur October 12th in Saudi, Fury has the opportunity to make some edits on a legacy that now has the scar of defeat. He's had a historic heavyweight career. He's one of the best heavyweights I've ever seen, and one of the best who've ever lived. Pro Box's Chris Aligieri said on Monday's episode, Deep Waters.
Bullshit!
I don't think the name of Tyson Fury fits anywhere in a top 10 all-time great list of heavyweights. I don't. Joe Louis, Lennox Lewis, Jack Dempsey, Ali, Frazier, Foreman,
Liston.
Tyson, Holmes, Klitschko, Vitaly Klitschko. Where does the name of Tyson Fury fit into that picture, in that list? Where? Maybe top 15, maybe top 20, but not top 10.
No.
Once they've lost, the list becomes even shorter. The number of fighters who lost the belt and were able to rebound and win it back.
Tyson did it. Lewis did it. Anthony Joshua did it. But can Tyson Fury?
I don't think so. Before the news arrived of Tyson Fury invoking the rematch against undisputed heavyweight champion Alexander Usyk following Usyk's split decision win in Saudi on Saturday, Aligieri and fellow analyst Paulie Malignaggi said it makes perfect sense to pursue a second crack. Before Usyk launched his rally from a 68-65 deficit on 2 scorecards before the 8th round, I was thinking I wouldn't be surprised if Fury stops Usyk, Aligieri said. And if Usyk doesn't hurt and knock down Fury, Fury wins that fight.
Bullshit!
They're always misrepresenting Fury, which is why I have little patience for them and little patience for Fury. Fury had no more success against Usyk than Anthony Joshua had against Usyk. And when Anthony lost to Usyk, they crucified him for it. When Fury loses to Usyk,
They want to reflect on how great Fury's career has been. How he can come back.
I know we're looking at it in hindsight, but if Usyk doesn't drop Fury in the 9th, he loses the fight. Fury was in dominant control in rounds 4, 5, 6, and 7. Dominant boxing. Beautiful boxing IQ.
Bullshit!
Wasn't boxing IQ. That was size. The The sheer size of Fury is what was helping him the most, that he's such a big heavyweight.
They weren't carrying on about Anthony Joshua's boxing IQ when he landed a body shot that so visibly hurt Alexander Usyk and had him retreating. They weren't talking about Anthony's success against that same fighter the way they talk about Fury's.
He did good in 4 rounds. 4 rounds. He did all right for 4 rounds before he got his nose busted in the 8th and treated like a ping pong ball in a knife.
He did all right for 4 rounds.
Deep Waters analyst Malignaggi said while Fury's first loss opens him to reflective criticism that he's taken too much time off and fought down to the competition, in some cases he remains one of the best fighters of his generation and one of the best heavyweights of this era. The Wilder trilogy and the Vladimir Klitschko win was one for the books. Every performance is so important. You're really under the microscope each and every time. And in previous instances, where Fury has been under the microscope after he beat Vladimir, tested positive for the nandrolone, he was in a hot seat. He was under the microscope, and what did he do? He disappeared for 2 years and became morbidly obese. Psychologically, that's how he handled that.
And that's when he was unbeaten.
How's he gonna handle this now that he's not? That you don't have your O to lord over Anthony Joshua or lord over Deontay Wilder. That now you've lost 2. Paulie Malignaggi and Chris Aligieri, they feel that the legacy damage is more like a stain that can be scrubbed away. It's a loss on his record. All the great heavyweights have losses, Aligieri said. It doesn't change his legacy. Granted, it's not the same as it was before the fight, but if he comes back and beats Usyk in a rematch, then we've got the whole trilogy. That's a legacy builder. I don't think this loss hurts him that bad.
If he comes back and beats Usyk in a rematch, if my aunt had a dick, she'd be my uncle.
If this, and maybe that. The reality is, I don't know that Tyson Fury has the psychology, the psyche, and the intestinal fortitude to pull himself back together now that he's lost. The same as Wilder, the same as Joshua, the same as a lot of fighters. For a long time, he's been able to lord his unbeaten record over everybody else. Well, not anymore.
You activate the rematch, you tell yourself, I'm gonna be serious this time. I'm not gonna dick around like I did in the first 2 rounds. I'm gonna start faster.
Go ahead. You'll get knocked out faster. The reason it took so long for Usyk to hurt Tyson Fury is because it took Fury that long to come forward. It took Fury that long to start stepping into his punches, have the confidence to do so. And as soon as he did, he got his nose broken in the 8th and ragdolled in the 9th.
So go ahead, start off faster.
He'll hurt you faster, and now he knows that he can. Now the whole world knows that the guy you called a middleweight, a little rabbit, he can hurt you.
Well, didn't Fury hurt him with the body shots?
Not more than Usyk hurt Fury with his left hand. He broke his nose with his left hand.
And started off that sequence in the 9th with his left hand. Who hurt who more?
It really shouldn't be a question because it's obvious. It's obvious who did more damage. It's obvious who hurt who more on Saturday.
Fury landed a couple of solid shots in rounds 4 through 7, and you guys are blowing it out of proportion because whatever he does, you blow it out of proportion.
So often misrepresenting him. He was brought down to reality this past Saturday, and so were you. It'll happen again if they have a rematch.